What's up, everyone? Matt here with Down Once More, coming at you with a special bonus episode. I gotta recap week 3 of Love Island USA. I've titled these kind of spin-off Love Island recaps Down on the Island. It works. Go with it. But let's get into it. I'm gonna go through a few thoughts overall about the season that I haven't called out yet on other episodes of the podcast. And then I'm going to go with kind of a day-by-day recap of what's happened so far. Now, I am recording this portion before Friday night's episode. So I'm recording Sunday through Thursday, and then watch tonight's episode, record that portion, edit it in here, put the episode out to you all. I will try to, as life permits, do this for the rest of the season. So do them as bonus episodes. So if Love Island isn't your thing, you're still getting your normal weekly pods. Next week, Brad and I will be talking about A Complete Unknown, the Timothée Chalamet starring Bob Dylan biopic. And the week after that, I will be talking about what's coming to streaming, theaters, all that fun stuff in July, what you need to know, what you need to watch. One of those things is going to be Love Island USA because it is continuing. I said it on Threads when I posted last week's episode. This season of Love Island USA, for me, is reaching much must-watch territory. It is just some insane drama, plot points, so many moments that make you want to scream at the television. Now, is that always a good thing? No. I'm going to be completely honest, even just like re-going through my notes for the week before recording this, I'm like, this week was draining as hell. Watching Huda and Jeremiah and that spiral and Hurricane Huda, as people have been calling her online, and apparently it's right there, and the Islanders are picking up on it as well, because Hannah called her that as well this week in one of the episodes. So it's just freaking emotionally draining. So one thing that I have to call out that is a pet peeve of mine, because it's happened the last few seasons of Love Island USA, is that they start using the British slang for it, like fanny flutters. Maya asked, I believe, Olandria if she had fanny flutters. Just stop. That is a thing because Maura Higgins in Love Island UK said it, but that is because in the UK they call their vagina their fanny. So that's what they're talking about. But that's not a common term in the US. So you throwing out fanny flutters just seems weird. And if they don't know the Love Island UK lore, or new Love Island USA watchers are like, what the fuck is happening right now? We don't need the British slang. Now, if Ian Sterling, who Ian has been the GOAT this season so far, people are hating on him. Yes, he's cheesy, but there have been so many more hits than misses. And especially this week with the Huda and Jeremiah drama and how fucking draining that was, having him bring light to it was a highlight to me. I've seen some edits that I think are fantastic of the times Huda's lied on the show, and that was even before this week. So like her telling the girls and Amaya she picked Ace because she'd rather pie Ace than Amaya, and then when she pulls Ace to talk to him, she's like, well, I picked you because I'd rather kiss you than Amaya. Just showing just kind of two-faced nature, and just how many it happens so many times. And maybe there's situations where what she's saying was actually said and the edit intentionally left that part out. I don't know. That could be, but it's happened too many times in my opinion for it to just be a coincidence. So let's start with Sunday's episode. Last Wednesday's episode of the pod, I talked about week 2, and that ended on Friday because we don't talk about After Sun on here. So Sunday's episode picks up. We had one episode after the Leather and Lace party when Pepe, Jalen, and Iris came in. And so this episode took place 2 days after that. And just some highlights from it. Austin, the beginning of this week and everything, was doing the same thing he does every time with Shelly. He's upset, mopey, and kind of down because he doesn't like the triangle. And Ace is being all sorts of extra too and going all out for Shelly, which I kind of feel for Austin. He does kind of seem like he's on the outside looking in, with the guys. But every convo with Shelly, he's like, yeah, I'm kind of upset. I'm tired of being in a triangle. And then when he talks to her, and then in the talking head, he's like, yeah, every time I talk to her, I just like her more. So I kind of feel for him because I think Shelly does like him as a friend, and she keeps saying she likes him, but she acts just completely differently with Ace. And so obviously that's just not there. And as we saw the recoupling later in the week, obviously she would have been closed off to Austin. But the first sign, I mean, we've had other signs, but the first big Huda crash out happened on Sunday's episode when Iris pulls Jeremiah to chat. They have a convo, and he tells her, yeah, we had a rough day, but I'm still just more into Huda. She's who I'm with, and kind of reassuring Huda. And so you think, okay, he's not even going to explore that. But then him telling Huda that, like, yeah, we had a talk and she's nice enough, but I told her, like, yeah, we had a rough morning, but because those damn pancakes, but now we're good. And then Huda just freaking out, like, what? You never talk about where you have problems. You don't tell anyone about any of our problems. No one. I don't care what's going on. And just freaking out on him. It's like he tried to say that he told her he was still interested in you primarily. He's not interested in Iris as much as what he told her initially. And then you're just freaking out on him saying, you don't tell anyone you have problems. You get that? Making it seem like he can't even talk to his boys. He has to internalize it. Not healthy. And then her saying, like, you do what you got to do, but just know I'm watching you. And then Jeremiah just laughing and saying she's cute. Kind of encouraging that behavior. So I want it to be clear, Jeremiah is not without fault in any of this shit. Like, yes, he definitely could have handled things differently. But that and her just being like, you're so toxic. I'm like, bitch, you are toxic. You are both. This relationship is just toxic. You are not great for each other. Bad. And then that night they have sex. And then the morning she's telling all the girls about it. And then she slips and says, okay, love you. Bye. After he brings her breakfast. Just like, not like, if you are having those cracks, it is early on. Maybe you don't get so intimate so fast, but I heard Chicks in the Office on their podcast. Fran was saying, you know, they say people are dickmatized. She thinks Jeremiah is aspentized, and I could get it. Like, she will do the little things, and I called out in last week's episode that she tries to like remind it and bring it back to like a physical and attraction thing, or get extra flirty. And I think just there is that sexual tension there, and so then that can cause him to forget about some of the craziness and some of those problems and the toxicity and put it behind. So that was just a little wild. And I do think this season too, I feel like the past USA has been a little bit more reserved of what they show once the lights are on with the night vision cameras. But this season they have been going all in with it and pretty much putting these Islanders on blast for those moments. UK used to do it in the earlier seasons, and then there was more backlash and they stopped. I'm surprised the USA's ramping it up and going the other way, especially in Thursday's night's episode, them showing Hannah and Pepe in bed, and her like licking her hand or spitting on her hand and putting it down there. Wild move to include that into the edit. But I'm getting ahead of myself. There's a lot going on. Hannah freaking out about Charlie pulling Iris for a chat after she was literally like mounting and straddling and making out with Pepe in the speakeasy the night before. That I felt like was a wild move and just kind of showed that maybe she's caught up in the moment. So I said on last week's episode, my votes were for Iris and Ace, because I felt like they had been having the most conversations and chemistry, even though wanted to pull for Jeremiah, free him. And then I did vote for Pepe and Hannah, because they were the ones that had talked, and it seemed like she was over Charlie because she's straddling him and making out with him. Seemed like she was very interested in exploring things with Pepe, and that's really he hadn't had that connection with anyone else when they were conversing. And then I did vote Jalen and Alondria as well, because they hadn't showed him talking and getting to know anyone else. He was kind of locked in, focused on Alondria. But Hannah freaking out about that. And then they were good. They had a conversation. They were good. Then they had the Got Wood challenge. Paige DeSorbo came in, hosted it, left partway through. She said on her podcast that it was because she was wearing a turtleneck suede dress and just thought she was getting like faint and basically heat strokes. They were out there. It's in Fiji. It was crazy hot. And so she needed to get out. She almost fainted. So that's why she had to leave. But it was basically you picked an islander to kind of say who you think should be blank. That one where it's all about stirring up drama, throwing people under the bus. Certain people get more upset about it than others. Usually, if someone's picking the girls on stuff, the girls are going to get more upset about it than the guys were. But then you chose someone to chop a log with you. So basically, they straddled you and you basically did some dry humping to make the teeter-totter go, chop a log. Then you rode a wet log with them, made out on there, and then you picked a beaver and you didn't know whose name was on it, and whoever's name it was, you went in the building, closed the door, do whatever you want in there, like 7 minutes in heaven. No one saw. But there were a few times the door didn't get shut all the way. People saw Huda going over there with everyone and trying to see if they're actually doing anything, and then telling all the boys and talking about what they were doing. Olandri got picked more than anyone else in this. I swear, she made out with like 5 or 6 different people. And again, they didn't know it was her. They just picked the beaver, and it just so happened to be her. Jeremiah actually making out with Olandria. Huda saying that she didn't care, but clearly being pissed about it, because then when she got picked to ride Taylor to chop the log with him, she said in the talking head, she's like, yeah, I didn't care about Jeremiah kissing Alondria, but I was going to get my licks in too, because she is smothering Taylor with her ass in that. And I feel like that's immature as fuck. But at this level, we're still at the drama level that I like, that I enjoy. Taylor handled everything well. Throughout the week, I really like Alondria. I really like Taylor. I think they get along really well and are good friends, but from what we're seeing in the show, I'm not seeing as much of a romantic spark with them. I see them being very similar, both being fairly level-headed. I enjoy both of them. I think Taylor's funny as hell in it, but I don't necessarily see the romantic side as much there. But she clearly isn't having as much with Jalen either. Again, I'm going to be blending some convo in between each other with it. When they get back from the Get Wood challenge, Charlie pulls a Maya to try to get to know her for a chat, kind of because he sees Hannah and Pepe doing some more stuff, and I think he's being like a little jealous, and he's just trying to like get to know people and know his options. If she goes with Pepe, what am I gonna do? Maya is basically refusing and saying that she can't because her and Hannah are best friends, and then her like breaking down and sobbing about it, and Charlie needing to comfort her was interesting, especially when there's not really anyone else Amaya had been chatting with at this time and had a connection with, because her and Ace are dead. But I get it. It puts you in a weird position, and there's such a thing about being a girl's girl and girls code. Like I talked about last week, it needs to die, but it gets talked about all the time because those are the people you're hanging out with most, and they can make your life miserable if you're there. As we see Huda try to make every bombshell that shows any interest in Jeremiah seem miserable. But Hannah and Charlie talk again, and Hannah says that she's decided she just wants Charlie. She doesn't want anyone else, and she doesn't know how things could possibly get any better. Then Ariana comes in, and it's time to reveal the public vote. So it gets voted. Pepe and Hannah are together. Charlie gets pulled up to stand next to Ariana. It's voted Jalen and Alondrio together. Taylor stands by Ariana. And of course, the reveal for who's coupling up with Iris is last. When she reveals it's Jeremiah, Huda goes, what the fuck? Ace starts fucking busting out laughing about it. Huda gets pulled up there, looks insanely pissed off. So pissed off. And then Ariana tells them one of those 3 people is going home, and the Islanders who were not recoupled are the ones who have to vote. Now, a lot of times when they have this vote, they have people go off to the side, talk with their couples how they're going to vote. Nope. What they're having here is each person stand up one by one and say who they want to vote off. And who they think should be going home and why. Right to their faces. Love that move for the drama that it creates. But if it was a private vote, I think the vote goes differently than it did. Because it went Nick and Ace voted for Huda to go home. Austin voted for Taylor to go home. And then the votes for Charlie to go home, it came down to he had 2 votes as well. And the final vote was Amaya. And she basically chose between Charlie and Huda who she thought would go home. She could have voted for Taylor, and then we have a 3-way tie. I don't know what they would have done then. Maybe just a revote. But she votes for Charlie, which was a wild move after seeing how Hannah is sobbing about Charlie potentially going home and her saying Hannah's her best friend. She can do that to her, but then still voting out Charlie over Huda was an interesting choice. A couple things before that vote took place, when Ariana said they had to vote someone home, Amaya starts fucking crashing out of crying like, no, we don't want to do that though. We don't want to do that. Acting like she's telling them they have to murder someone. And she is fucking losing it more than anyone else. And then for it to come down and that she's the one who sent Charlie home. Charlie tried to make an impassioned plea. I thought, I'll be honest, I thought he was going to say, hey, I know these other people have been more established. I'll go home. Because that's what we've seen more is people volunteering to sacrifice themselves. But I respect him making a plea to kind of stay and get him still there. And saying him and Hannah had a talk. And it was really good. Really want to explore things. And they're locked in. It was a really good conversation. And he really wants to stay. And then even after that, am I still voting him home? Wild, rough. But then Charlie's going home. Hannah is losing it and sobbing so much. And that's where the episode ends. Then Monday's episode picks up there. I kind of felt bad for Pepe in this moment because it had to be so awkward for him when America voted for him to recouple with Hannah, and she is just openly weeping and so upset and sobbing. And then her and Charlie go and talk, and Charlie just kind of reiterates how much he likes her. People online were loving his like soft whisper voice and how he's telling her how much he cares about her. There was something about it to me. Maybe it's the cynic in me. Him in that conversation and his plea to kind of stay seemed a little bit disingenuous to me. I don't know. There was something off about it to me that just seemed a little bit desperate. Him saying like, if after all this, you're still single, come and try and find me. And people have been making pleas at least early in the week where like, we need to bring Charlie back for Casa Amor. And I don't know. It could be interesting to see that test Hannah more if Hannah's still here at Casa Amor time, but I don't know. But he leaves. Jeremiah, dude, this is when the fallout really begins. Jeremiah is acting all defensive of the guys that voted for Huda, Ace, and Nick. And they're just trying to caution him. But he's getting all defensive about them saying, we voted for that because we think Charlie and Hannah have gone through more tests and trials than you and Huda have. You and Huda have not even entertained it. Huda has been threatening as hell to any girl that's even looked Jeremiah's way. Like, you don't have an opportunity to really try to experience and test those connections and test those relationships, which is part of what they say you're supposed to be doing at Love Island, right? But then when it zoomed out and you could see the girls were 10 feet away when they were having this conversation, was wild that the guys were going all in on it. But I feel like Ace was very animated and being a little extra in all this. We know how Ace feels about Huda and Jeremiah and everything there, but he was being wild and very over the top. I felt like Jeremiah was maybe being a bit performative, maybe not, but Huda is upset, going through all the emotions with the girl, saying America hates her, questions why are these grown men and how do they have the right to say whether a couple is good or not. She's pissed about Ace and Nick saying and their reasoning for wanting to get rid of her, just basically saying some people have been trying to be open to explore connections and test things out. Others are closed off, saying it doesn't seem genuine, and she is not very happy about that. And this is where it really started the trend that kind of pissed me off this week of the girls just kind of gassing Huda up and trying to protect her, which I'm all for keeping this person from spiraling more, but they're like, well, maybe America's just seeing things you don't. Maybe they're just trying to protect you. And I felt like as the week went on, things got worse and worse. Huda needed to be checked by the girls way sooner than she was. They were just gassing her up and encouraging her, putting stuff on Jeremiah more instead of actually calling her out. And a real friend, a girl's girl, should call you out on your shit when you're being just need to be calmed down, comforted. I get you wanted to validate their feelings, but sometimes you got to call them out too. Sorry, it's like 4:00. Need some iced coffee, of course. But Huda then talking to Ace and trying to justify her behavior with him, because she did pull both Ace and Nick over the next day, and her talking to Ace that night and just being like, hey, the reason that I act where I do and why it's so serious and so important to me is because I'm a mother. And she said it like she was expecting Ace to be like, oh shit, I'm so sorry. That makes sense. And Ace just basically no-sells it and is like, okay, yeah, I have a mother too. She's a single mother, so I get that. And just kind of not really addressing it much or just even entertaining that as justification for how she acts, I felt like was fantastic. So shout out to Ace for keeping it real. I think this season of Love Island, we have some fantastic just reality TV characters. I think Ace would be fantastic on almost any reality show for the ability he has to stir the shit. He can be entertaining and a bit of a dick, and I feel like that makes a perfect reality person. And again, to some others later. But I felt like that was very real. Jeremiah and Iris have a conversation about it because it's kind of awkward, just the whole situation. And it was fine. She was very like encouraging, supportive, not saying she was going to push him, asking him how he was doing, and then asking if he was going to talk to Huda, and him just being like, nah, I'm not tonight. I think I'm just going to in the mood to talk to my pillow. I feel like that is a bit of a red flag, and it became a topic of discussion later that he didn't want to at least have a little bit of a conversation with her. I feel like that would have been the right thing. I don't feel like he necessarily deserved the attack from Huda he got later in the week, but he should have at least said something to her, and he didn't. And then, yeah, Huda crying to the girls because Jeremiah didn't check on her, saying she almost went home because Jeremiah isn't genuine, and America saw that. And just this is just her just not taking any responsibility or entertaining the thought that it could be something she did as well. Her putting everything on Jeremiah, I feel like shows an extreme lack of self-awareness. But the girls are just gassing her up, saying, yeah, America just wanted better for you, and are just telling her the right things. And I feel like that encouraged her to feel like, oh yeah, they're telling me this. What I'm saying is right. This is the truth. This is reality. And then her in the shower, I forget who the other girl in the shower was, and when she's just yelling, saying, I'd never want a man like that. He's a lying fuck. My husband would never. Fucking liar. And just cussing him out, and he's waiting outside and can obviously hear all of this. And then when she comes out, he's like, I never lied to you. And then her just ignoring him and walking by. Now, do I think he was actually going to have a conversation, try to comfort her after that? No, I think he was trying to defend himself a little bit. So still not the best way to do it. But anyway, they go to bed. New couples get a text, going on dates. Hannah, this is when she calls out. She's like, it's probably going to be a Hurricane Huda when we're gone. Just that awareness. And it's like, and yet you all see this, you are all aware of this, and yet you still voted to save her. Granted, Hannah didn't get a vote, but come on. And then Huda waking up and walking around before they like opened the curtains and the day officially started, and then going to Taylor and waking him up like they're gone, they're on a date, and him just being like, yeah, and then him telling Nick later on, he's like, she woke me up, bro. Like, the fuck, I can't bring him back. I thought it was hilarious, but just I feel bad for her because it's what's happening is not good for her mental health. She's not doing well. And I get like her and Jeremiah did get very serious very fast, or at least the appearance of being very serious very fast. They got intimate very fast. So I get that you are going to have those connections. So I get why you're hurting, and people react in different ways and express that in different ways. But she's not doing herself any favors with it either. But her being pissed that they're on a date and saying this man did me dirty and he gets rewarded to go on a fucking date, just still not entertaining any thought that it could be about her. And also, her and Jeremiah are the only ones that have been able to go out on a date so far. So besides, you had in the hideaway a little bit with Nick and Sierra and Shelly and Charlie when Sierra and Charlie came in. But you just gotta take a breath. I felt bad for Austin in this moment too, because Ace he's like, we're gonna do a ping pong and pancakes thing for Shelly, and he enrolls, that's not the word I'm looking for, but I can't think of it right now. He recruits Nick and Taylor to help him with it, to do ping pong and have pancakes. The winner gets that, and do this whole thing for Shelly in the morning, and them just editing and cutting to Austin sitting by himself was just so sad. It was so sad. But then while the other couples are on the date, nothing really exciting happened on the new couples dates, besides Hannah seeming like she's getting over Charlie pretty quick, just enjoying her time with Pepe. They're doing some making out. Jalen and Alondra give massages to each other. It was fine, nothing crazy. I didn't really sense any chemistry or connection there. Like, it was the only person he was entertaining, but every time like he was trying to be respectful, so he'd just kiss her on like the cheek or something like that, which is nice. Jalen is super sweet, and I think he would have been good on the show longer. Spoiler alert, we're after the end of the week, he goes home. But I was kind of disappointed in those days. Nothing crazy happened. Jeremiah said he was open to getting to know Iris. He just needed to see where things going. But back at the villa, Huda is crashing out, talking to Amaya, constantly saying, you know what, I was thinking about it, and I've questioned from the beginning if he was love bombing me, which, to be fair, she did say at the very beginning. She said that he was love bombing, and then she keeps calling him like a fucking bitch. But I called out last week's episode, she calls everyone a bitch. She, like, her very first thing when she comes in is she's like, bitch, 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 to Alondra and Shelly. And Huda, when she is upset, she code switches, I feel like. But she's going on, she's cussing him out, saying he's a liar, he's selfish, it's always been about him. A quote that actually left her mouth was, nothing's ever been about me in here. It's always been about him. It would take a miracle for him to win me back. That is what she tells Amaya. Amaya's then gassing her up, saying, yeah, Jeremiah always just made it about him. You're lucky you're going to be better off without him. And so Huda, again, she just said it would take a miracle for him to win me back, as if she's done with it. Then everyone's getting back from the date. Huda's like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. And they're like, calm down, take a breath, because they see what's coming. She's like, I'm unbothered. I'm relaxed. I'm good. She puts on sunglasses, chills in the lounger, lays back, acts like she's been doing that all day. And then as soon as they get back, Iris, Pepe, and Jalen go off by themselves to talk as the newer bombshells. And then Hannah and Alondra go with the girls. Jeremiah goes and is talking with the boys. Now, while Jeremiah's talking with the boys, Nick kind of calls him out because him and Huda had a conversation about like, hey man, you should have gone and comforted her some. Like, that's something he could have done wrong. Jeremiah gets a little defensive. He's like, what, you tell me I should explore things, and now you're mad at me for doing it? And he's just like, no, I'm just telling you that's something you could have done better. He's giving him some feedback. And so I thought that, respect to Nick, keeping it real, giving him that feedback. Meanwhile, Huda randomly, while the girls are talking, goes, I need to go to the bathroom, which is just transparent as fuck. She doesn't need to go to the bathroom. She just wants to make a show, walk past the guys, right? So she goes past the guys, sits on the stairs like to go up to the bathroom, takes her slides off, sneaks up to eavesdrop on these men talking about the date. And it's hearing Jeremiah where he's talking about just like kind of a weight lifted. He enjoyed it, open to exploring it, and some kind of warning signs with Huda and how she freaked out and kind of what that was telling him. And then Huda revealing herself, telling him to by all means explore, flipping him off, saying fuck you, and then going to the girls, yelling that he's a fucking bitch, he's a pussy ass bitch. She's yelling it at him from across there. And it is just wild. Like, she tells the girls, she's like, I was over there, I was listening to everything they were saying. He didn't know I was listening, and he's saying all this, so fuck him, he's a bitch. And I'm like, that's when the girls should have been like, hey, I get you're upset, but maybe you don't be secretly eavesdropping on people. That is not healthy for you. That is just going to hurt you, and it is only going to push him away further. Especially you yelling and calling him a pussy-ass bitch. You are ruining the vibes for everyone. But they didn't. Instead, Huda's like, I'm going to go pull Iris for a chat. She goes up, asks if she can pull her for the chat, asks Pepe and Jalen to leave. They're like, I don't feel like we should go too far because Huda is acting wild. And then they're afraid she's going to like fucking slap Iris or something. I don't know. And so they go let the other girls know. Meanwhile, Huda's talking to Iris and she's like, you know, I was sitting over there. I was listening to what they were saying, but they didn't know that I was listening to them. Which just a giant red flag and just a lack of self-awareness from her to think that anyone's going to listen to that and be like, oh yeah, you did the right thing. But she's like, I need you to tell me what happened on that date. I need you to tell me, which I felt so bad for Iris in this. This is so fucking awkward to be in that position. And then Iris is just like downplaying the date. And she's like, yeah, we just sat on the beach. And Huda's like, sitting on the beach? That's my dream date. And he knows that. And starting crying was just such victim mentality and making it about her when Jeremiah didn't plan the fucking date. And also, I think anything Iris would have said in that moment would have been like, that was my dream date. That was my dream date. I've always wanted to just sit on the beach. You are the only person in there who has had a date so far. And so you complaining about this when it's just something that happens. It's not like Jeremiah did it as a slight to you. And you're doing it right there in front of Iris is so fucking disrespectful to Iris. It's so mean. But shout out to the production team on this for when Huda is spiraling over that's my dream date. Them playing Save Me by Jelly Roll, where the lyrics are like, somebody save me from myself. Fantastic, just beautiful song choice and editing. Shout out them. And then Huda bitching to the other girls that she doesn't like how Iris moves. Iris isn't a girl's girl. Meanwhile, Huda is just being mean as fuck to all the girls that came in and making everything about herself isn't a very girls move either. This is wild. And then that night, Jeremiah pulling Huda and wanting to talk to her. And they're like, let's go to the speakeasy. And then they're walking towards the speakeasy and he starts talking to her and she's like, nope, just save it till we're inside. And he's like, so we're just going to walk in silence? She's like, yep. I think if I was Jeremiah in that situation, I would have been like, you know what? Never mind. I think I'm good. Like, if you were going to say we have to walk in silence, we can't have any sort of conversation until we're there. One, I'm going to be a little frightened that the reason you want that to happen is you're going to try to beat me the fuck up in there. And so I'm just like, you know what? No, I am going to take a step back. But then this episode ends with them having conversation, Jeremiah apologizing for not comforting her, saying he was sorry he wasn't there, and then Huda just going, you know what? I think you just play the victim. That was selfish of you. I've noticed patterns. And then she's just like doing a master class of putting everything on him and refusing to take any sort of responsibility or accountability, being like, you don't even care about me. You don't give a fuck about me. You have, and he's like, I had nothing left to give in that moment, which, again, he absolutely should have gone to her and tried to comfort and do something. I get being overwhelmed in that moment and dealing with a lot of emotions and what he was feeling with. Like, I do think he was genuinely feeling a little bit betrayed by especially Nick, not so much Ace. I think he saw it coming from Ace, but Nick for voting to send Huda home. And like I said, I think he's a little asthmatized, and so he doesn't see how toxic the relationship is because he's in it. He's like, I had nothing left to give. And then her just like yelling at him, like, that doesn't matter if you have nothing left to give for me. And then she's screaming at him to she's like, stand the fuck up for yourself, Jeremiah, she doesn't actually want him to stand up for himself. She wants him to just be a bitch and take the beatings from her. So I don't know. And she's like, you're the reason everything happened. You're the reason I acted how I did. And you're not registering what I've been through. I don't want shit to do with you. Again, not taking any responsibility or accountability, saying it's all on him. Like, yes, could he have done things better or differently? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, is she responsible for how she reacts to that? 100%. Yes, you can be influenced by people. Yes, you can be triggered or hooked by actions people do. But at the end of the day, you are ultimately the one responsible for your actions. And I've seen zero accountability from Huda, who says she is so emotionally mature because she has a child. No, I do not. She needs to go at this point. It's not healthy for her to be there. But the episode ends in the middle of their super fun argument, discussion, whatever you want to call it, spiral. And then we get to open the next week with it too. We're getting multiple episodes of just toxicity and fighting. It's fantastic. But Huda, when they are here, going into a super quiet voice and going, any man in there who's not even as locked in as we were would have gone straight to his girl. And like going to that voice, that would have been what scared me most if I was Jeremiah. And that comes across like, I will be 100% honest. There are times where if I am upset and having an argument, when I get to the point where I will just talk quiet like this, that is when I'm about at my breaking point, and that's when you know I'm pretty fed up. I would be scared at that point if I was Jeremiah. And then Jeremiah just cussed him in like the confessional talking head. He's like, so I'm not a man now? And he's like, dude. And you can tell he's just burnt out. And she's just like, you do little things to show you're not as interested as I am. And then brings up the pancake thing again. And Jeremiah is just like everyone. He's like, the fact that we're still talking about this is kind of nuts. And it is. It is. And then her again, she's like, that was the biggest opportunity to step it up and you didn't. And I think has this in her head. And again, we only see bits and pieces of the 24-hour day, but she has in her head that everyone is doing so much more than he is to show they care about their couple. And that America is seeing that he doesn't actually care about her and he's not putting in any effort. I don't think America was seeing that. That is not why America voted her out. But again, just lack of accountability on everything. And she's like, that was the biggest opportunity to step up and you didn't. And saying, it's clear to America and people in this villa that you've done things that show you're not as interested. And Jeremiah, he had a little bit of backbone here. He's like, I think it's flipped. I think they've seen you've done unhealthy things. And then her, just textbook and peak victim behavior goes, oh, so you think America hates me? Like, what the fuck's he supposed to say in that? Like, no, yes, America hates you. I wish he would have. I wish he would have just said that. And again, I've said it on here. I said it last week. Disclaimer. Do not bully people online. Don't be a dick. Don't go after Huda, her family, anything like that. I hope she has a great support system when she gets home. We are viewing this as a reality show, and so we can call out these behaviors, but don't be hateful. But peak victim shit, just peak victim behavior there. Is just wild, unhealthy conversation. And then they finally give us a little bit of a break, go to Austin and Amaya, starting to chat, have some convos there. Their goofy, weird chemistry works. So I'm glad, spoiler for Thursday's episode, I'm glad they're coupled up, or Tuesday at the end of this episode. Hannah telling Pepe, sometimes you have to break down to break through. Nice little justification to her, how she moved on so quickly from Charlie and her reaction there. Well done. Jeremiah and Huda back to that conversation. Jeremiah acting like it seems like he's trying to make moves to get back with Huda and rectify things. Cause he's like, no, Iris isn't even my type. And then he's like, well, I thought I made you happy. I don't have any regrets for choosing you. It seems like he's trying to get back with her. And I hated that in the moment. And then her just being like, you hurt me, man. You really did. You broke my heart, man. Like, what are we doing? Why are you calling him man? Why are you... This is a different code switching. This is the third switch. And she's just being a bro. Just hated it. Hated the whole conversation. And then they go to bed. And then her getting up in the middle of the night, going and sitting out in the hallway, I 100% think was a test. She was expecting or trying to get Jeremiah to go after her. And so I just seemed a bit performative to me. We finally get like Nick and the other Islanders talking the next day, just kind of getting fed up, saying that they just think that that relationship is a little toxic and it's just so draining and ruining the vibe. And then asking like, do you guys really think that this relationship should last? And Olandre just being like, honestly, no, the relationship should not last. But then Jeremiah brought Huda breakfast, said he wants, and then pulls her for a chat, says he wants to talk. He had some clarity and basically just says, hey, look, I think we did too much, got too intimate, too much, too fast. I think we missed the friend stage. Like, so many good relationships happen when you start as friends first. I think we need to go back to that and start kind of focusing on being friends. And that's really the only way I see for this to be healthy and to move forward. Huda's saying she's hurt. Going back to friends is hard, especially after she's been hugging on him, kissing on him, everything like that. She can't just be buddy when she's hurt, which, to be fair, I do get. I don't think saying let's go back to being friends was the best way Jeremiah could have put that. But I think he was trying. He was trying to say they like went from 0 to 100 real fast. And he's like, hey, he does care about her. So he wants to still be like interested in this. So, but let's just dial it back a bit. Like, we are at this level where it is toxic. We are freaking out. Let's maybe take it a bit easier. And then he's talking about it, and she's like, if this is how you think you're going to make me like you, when he's talking about it, he's like, well, I don't want to make you like me. That's not what I'm trying to do. And then she crashes out hard. I don't think I've ever used crashing out before, but they use it on here, and so that's what I now use. Or maybe it's online. It's everywhere, so now I use crashing out. I overuse it. It's bad. She starts freaking out, like, really, he said he doesn't even want to make me like him. And it's like, well, you're kind of twisting it. She leaves and says she's done. Then she comes back, picks up a pillow, throws it. I thought she was going to throw it straight fucking at him. She throws it into the ground, yelling at him, saying, what I want, you clearly don't want to do. So take care, brother. Enjoy life. So another thing, saying she's done with him. She says she's done with him like 5 fucking times and then makes it clear she obviously doesn't want to be done with him and just wants to fucking fight. And And then her just having the complete lack of self-awareness to go to the other Islanders who are sitting on the bench and then just vent and call him a fucking bitch and a liar. Said he doesn't even want to make me like her and all this stuff. Just no self-awareness. But at this moment, Taylor just got looking at Nick and making faces like, are you fucking seeing this? This is fucking wild. This is ridiculous, bro. Highlight of the season so far to me. Hilarious. But after that happened, Austin and Alondria were talking and they go to Jeremiah and they're talking through it. And like, I think they are seeing the side of Huda and they are empathizing with Jeremiah a little bit more, even though Alondria is like, maybe America was trying to protect you. I think she's now seeing that probably wasn't the case. Alondria lets it slip. Huda has a kid. And Austin's like, wait, she has a kid? And then she's just like, oops. This is now the third time Alondria has accidentally slipped a piece of information out. And this is what I think genuinely was. I kind of feel bad because Huda didn't want anyone to know. But at this point, I think Austin might be the only one who doesn't know. Austin, Iris, Pepe, and Jalen. I think everyone else knows. And again, Iris, Pepe, and Jalen might know if they're doing what they do previously, where they get to watch the previous episodes before coming in. This episode is when I kind of got over, like, I still like Shelly, but her with the Ace and Austin thing, she just clearly doesn't actually like Austin for some reason. I think she's a little worried about how Ace moves in the villa and just jumping from thing to thing. But she's telling Ace, he says he wants to get a tattoo on her stomach. She's like, I have a good idea. You should put my face there. Like, they obviously have more chemistry. That's obviously who should be in a couple. But then Huda talking to the girls when they're getting ready for the night, saying Jeremiah needs to have a realization and step the fuck up or it's not happening. And Sierra just being like, well, maybe you make the name calling die down a bit. Like, I appreciate her gently checking Huda there. Because I think they were starting to see, like, oh, we've been gassing her up and it has gone to her head and it is getting worse. We are creating a monster and trying to check her. But Huda again saying that Jeremiah needs to step it up or it's not happening. You've said you're done with the man so many times. And then Jeremiah does the simplest thing. He pulls Iris's chair out and then that makes her cry, go off. And then Hannah goes with her and just gasses her up. And I feel like should have kept it real with her again. These girls, come on, care for your friend. Help her. She is struggling. She needs help. But Austin and Amaya have another chat. Just kind of goofy chats. We had lots of goofy Nick and Sierra chats this week too. And I have missed more of that being interjected throughout. The drama is great. I love the petty drama that lasts maybe an episode, 2 episodes. This level of toxic drama is draining to me. But this is when they have a recoupling, and they do a different method that I have not seen them do before, that I can remember. They have all the girls stand behind doors with their names on it. And the girls get to say one guy that they will have their door unlocked for. And the guys, when it's their turn, will go up to the door and turn the knob. And if that door is unlocked, they're a couple with that girl. If it's not, then they are single and vulnerable. So key highlights from this is we have Hannah and Pepe. They coupled. Hannah says, Ariana asked, do you think America got it right with the vote? She's like, yeah, I think they got it right with it. So showing she moved on from Charlie pretty fast. Ace and Shelly finally together. And then Jalen went for Alondria's door. It was locked, single. Taylor went, it's open. Austin went to Amaya's, and Amaya's was open. The way they edited it made it seem like Shelly was like almost a little shocked or disappointed. She's like, I didn't even know they were talking. I wish I would have. I wish he would have told me. He was exploring things with her. But that's definitely not the case. And we saw that after Ace picked her, that's what she had wanted too. So just nice little creative editing there, I think. And then they, of course, have Jeremiah go last. And he chooses Iris. The door is unlocked. It's wonderful. I'm happy with his decision. However, I do have to say, him starting to walk down towards Huda's door and then halfway down the path swerving and going to Iris's did seem like a bit of a dick move. Same with when he chose her and Ariana asked why he chose Iris. He said, I chose her because she just seems level-headed with everything. She was thrown into a shitstorm and how she handled things. She checked up on me. She cared. She handled it very level-headedly, and so that's what I wanted. 100% was a jab at Huda. 100%. But then it's showing her and she's mouthing, he's a liar. He's a liar from behind the door. Great editing choices. And like the shot of Jeremiah and Iris hugging and Huda like just kind of crouched down knowing that he didn't pick hers. Also just a great shot. Great work by the production team this week on all the drama. But then Ariana having Huda come out. And Huda and she asked, was your door unlocked for Jeremiah? And she said, it was, because Jeremiah told me Iris wasn't his type, which is true. He did in the conversation where it seemed like he was trying to make things right with Huda. She's like, he said he wasn't attracted to her. That was false. From the edit we've seen and from what I remember, I do not remember him ever saying he wasn't attracted to her. She's like, he said he didn't want to sleep in a bed with her. Also false. I do not remember seeing that in the edit at all. And saying it was the safe bet and he didn't want to lose, so he chose her. It was another chance for him to prove himself, and he failed. And then she goes, congratulations, buddy. You're a dick. Just, no, you're not handling this well. You're just being petty and mean to Iris and being a jackass to her. And you're like, it was a chance for him to prove himself and he failed? No, he just didn't want to prove himself to you. He's over it. He's over the drama and the crash out. So he didn't fail anything. He failed what you wanted him to do, but not for him. That wasn't a test for him. He figured out what he wanted and it was not you. So Ariana says, I felt bad for Iris because Iris, you could tell she was kind of hurt by the comments about her being the safe option. She tells Jeremiah, she's like, well, just so you know, you weren't the safe option for me. And he's just like, yeah, I know. I was just trying to break the cycle of toxicity. He says that. And I'm like, I get it from his point, but I get it from Iris's too, like not wanting to be a pawn. Like she was kind of a little bit of a pawn, both the recouplings. Like her and Jeremiah, like, yeah, they're getting to know each other. But the last one, America voted for her to use her to get some separation between Jeremiah and Huda. And then this one, Jeremiah picked her to get some separation from Huda himself too. But Ariana says, okay, Jalen and Huda, one of them are going home. Go stand behind the Islander that you want to save. Some wild choices here. One was Ace going and standing behind Huda. And then Huda like trying to reach out and be like, thank you, Ace. And he just goes, hell no. And I respected that, but I would have respected it more if he stood behind Jalen, because I genuinely think Jalen could have found someone and would have been good for Love Island. And so him going home sucks just because I feel like girls and everyone's a little bit scared of Huda. But the only people that stood behind Jalen were Nick, Austin, Jeremiah, and Pepe. And Austin also stood up and said that he was proud of Jeremiah for choosing Iris, because I think he's sick of the fucking drama and toxic shit too. But Huda stays. Iris went behind Huda as well. So did Taylor and Olandria. 100% I think why Taylor and Ace did it as well was to get Jalen off the island. Just for a little less competition for Taylor, let's be honest. Even though Olandria chose him, and I do think that's where the stronger connection is, I still think it's not really a romantic connection. And so the longer Jalen's there, the more you can see. But I do feel for him. I feel like he didn't really get a fair shot. And he got his passport. He'd never been out of the country. He got his passport just to go to Fiji. And now shout out places have reached out to him trying to get him to travel company partnership. So good for him. So I was disappointed. I felt like after the Islanders, like you'd been talking shit in the day saying you were tired of the toxicity and everything and was bringing the vibes down. You had your chance to get rid of that and send Huda home, and you didn't. So after that, it's a little bit on you. The one thing that just pissed me off finishing out this episode was Huda going over to Iris and being all nice to her now and being like, thank you. I feel bad you were in that position, but thank you. It means a lot. I appreciate it. Like, fuck off. You were just saying you didn't like the way she moved. You have been yelling, screaming. You were trying to make her feel bad about going on a date she had no control over. You were being a bitch to her. You're saying she's not a girl's girl. And now just because she voted for you, you're all happy? No, get the fuck out of here with that. And that's where Tuesday night's episode ended. And then it brings us to last night's episode, Thursday night's episode. This is the episode that I enjoyed this one. Yes, the crash out had moments of being entertaining. Most of the time is just draining. This, we had a little bit of drama and then just some wild fun and some crazy horny challenges. This season, I feel like has been kinkier and hornier than previous ones. They're going all in fast with everything. But what I appreciated most about this episode was it started out with Taylor and Alondria pulling Huda, talking to her and her thanking him, and Taylor just being like, look, we're going to keep it real with you, but now that we saved you, you need to completely separate from Jeremiah. And then her just starting to spiral and then blame Jeremiah and go to that. And Taylor's like, no, see, this is the shit that I'm talking about. Don't. And Alondra being like, we don't need any of that petty shit. And them just trying to emphasize, we need positive vibes moving forward. You just need to separate, distance. You try to move on. He's trying to move on. Your relationship was toxic. Move on. Huda says, yeah, I'm going to. And then she starts fucking eavesdropping on Iris and Jeremiah in the speakeasy. And then goes and interrupts, rude, and then says, hey, can I talk to you, to Jeremiah? And then goes to Iris, can I sit there? And then makes Iris leave. Disrespectful, I felt like. Also, she goes in that conversation in the speakeasy. She had been wearing a sweatshirt over her front before. She goes in there, sits down, takes it off. I feel like this was a little bit calculated because her dress is showing off the girls, and I think she wanted to distract Jeremiah and maybe pull him in a bit. I don't know. I felt like it was a little manipulative. Maybe not. Maybe they just have the heat cranked up in the speakeasy. Who knows? But she just basically starts telling him, like, I'm hurt, and just, again, refuses to take any accountability for anything, tries to put everything on Jeremiah. Again, lack of self-awareness. And then Taylor walking by, hearing them, and then going in the doorway and just looking at Huda like that. And then her like getting like mad and snappy and defensive and just being like, calm down. This is the last time. It's the last time. And she's giving me very like playing the victim vibes here, and seemed to me like she was kind of trying to make a move, hoping for sympathy, hoping for him to apologize. And then they give a hug after the conversation, and she's looking at him. It looked like she was trying to go in for a kiss. I don't know. Maybe that was just me. I feel like that's what she was doing, but he didn't kiss her. And then she's like, I think Jeremiah and I are finished, and it isn't something I want to keep exploring. Well, good. You've said that 5 times over the past 2 days, and you promised Jeremiah, well, you promised Taylor, you pinky promised. She pinky promised Taylor and Alondria that she was done and she was good with it, and then she talked to Jeremiah after that. Shame. Shame on her. But I don't know. We'll see. But hopefully that does it for that drama. Unless we get a little bit, I'm okay with a little bit more drama, but not this level of toxicity. But Sierra is keeping it real. She's talking to the other girl. She's like, if Huda doesn't move differently, we're not saving her a 3rd time. And all the girls agree because they're kind of fed up with that. But you shouldn't have saved her 2 times before. But whatever. But then I respected Sierra talking to Huda and being like, hey, I almost stood behind Jalen because I wasn't sure if you could actually take steps to be better for yourself. Like, I wasn't sure, so I almost voted to keep Jalen. She should have. I think there's a better chance with Jalen in there to find love and something genuine. Because here's the thing. If new people coming in have been watching, then I cannot imagine them wanting to couple up with Huda unless they are also asthmatized, which I get, especially with the challenge on this episode. I get it, but just not healthy. And that would be scary for me to willingly step into that. I would not want that. But then she's still, Huda's talking. I forget who she was talking with. It might have been when she was talking to Sierra. She's like, it's weird for him to be like that with someone so fast. And it cuts to it, and it's just him sitting like this. Iris is sitting like that. They're looking at each other, just having a fucking conversation. Like, what are they being like? They're not making out. They're not snuggling. They're not intertwined. They're just sitting there chatting. The fuck, man? Like, ugh. But this, we had some fun. Nick and Sierra random goofy convos in here. Talk about monkeys. We had some talk about hippos. I forget which episode it was, but Nick has a shirt that says Mommy's Little Meatball. I thought that was hilarious. Funny. Nick's one of my favorites this season. But the big thing that took up almost half the episode was the challenge is Megan Thee Stallion's coming in and they're doing a competition. It was a nice plug for Megan Thee Stallion's swim care line, Hot Girl Summer. And so they had special swimsuits in there for all the girls to show off. They were all talking about they were so excited for Megan to come in. And then her coming in and just talking to the girls and like, I had to see where all of you guys were sitting. I've been watching. And then she's asked Alondra, she's like, what's your booty routine? And Alondria's like, genetics. And Megan's like, I have so many screenshots of you on my phone. I thought that was fucking hilarious. And part of me was kind of hoping she would check Huda a little bit. She didn't. I get why not. But in like, she was doing a talking head. She's like, my favorite moment has to be when with Nick and Huda. And she's like, I'm a mommy. And he's like, Mamacita. And she's like, I'm a mommy. And he's like, Mama. And it was just her just calling that out. Love that. Celebrities. They're just like us, guys. Just like us. But their conversation with their challenge ended up being their 3 rounds. I was struggling to do 3 fingers. That's a struggle. That's bad. First round, twerk competition, guys versus girls. Not very fair to the guys. Second, limbo competition. And third is a puzzle. And it's build a bombshell. And whoever gets theirs done first, bombshell gets to enter the villa. Twerk competition. Huda crushed it. Nick's even saying like, man, like basically saying she was the GOAT, like top tier. She would be world champion, MVP up there. Great routine. Apparently the online rumors are that she is a midnight ballerina, aka stripper. But there was a scene with her dancing on the pole and then how she's dancing here. Not necessarily beating those allegations, but so what if she is? You do you. It's a legit profession. Good for her. Solid dance moves. She won her matchup. But the guys had so much fun with this, and it was so entertaining. Nick especially, goofy as hell. Austin, goofy as hell. But Austin saying, for having a tight little ass, that's something I need wiped from my memory. Austin saying, for having a tight little ass, I need that gone. Like, gone. I need to drink more. That needs to be out of my head. But Nick was hilarious with it. And then Shelly, like, going kind of pushing Megan down, dancing all up on her, and stuff. Good for them. It's fun competition. Fun competition. And the limbo, girls struggled with the limbo. Now, Ian called it out. They were not following the proper limbo rules, doing all sorts of wild things, basically just crawling under. That's not really what you're supposed to do. But hey, the guys won the second challenge. The first challenge was a tie, twerk off. Guys got style points, some sympathy points. So they got a 10-second head start to build their bombshell. But the girls pulled it out, won. In comes 23-year-old TJ. Bombshell says he's going to make some noise. Girls are pretty excited about him coming in, but Megan says she doesn't want the guys to miss out. She says, how are you feeling about not getting a bombshell? And Ace says, oh, I'm hurt. I'm hurting about it. Not going to lie. And Shelly kind of makes a face, and Huda's like, ooh, Shelly, make note of that. Like, okay, whatever. They've been coupled up for one day. Calm down. And Megan's like, okay. So here comes Andrina. The girl bombshell comes in. So that's where the episode ended. Andrina said she's interested in Nick and Jeremiah, are the ones she said by name when she comes in. So we'll see. That's where it ends. And that's all that's aired for me up to this point. So that's where I'm going to stop. Pick up after I watch tonight's episode, Friday's episode, to close out week 3 and give my thoughts on that in a minute. All right, so episode 16, Friday night's episode, is now over, so I am back to give my recap and thoughts on that. My adrenaline, I am so frustrated with certain things in this episode that I'll get into in a minute. But one thing I realized I have not called out yet is Taylor is being so obvious about his foot fetish, which, respect, we don't kink shame, you do you. But when he first met Alondria, commenting on she had nice toes, and then when they were building the bombshell puzzle in last night's episode of Andrina, saying, ooh, she got nice toes. Just come on, man. I mean, you gotta be a little bit subtle, but hey, you do you. Okay, Friday's episode. Not that there was ever a doubt or that anyone could ever be confused about it. I am now so far in team get Huda the fuck out of the villa. And I think the producers and everyone else is as well. With the next vote is live now. And it is who is your favorite boy and who is your favorite girl. And if Huda stays in the villa by some chance, I will be shocked. And I won't quit watching the show because I can't, obviously. But that might be the most disappointed I have been with America the past year. And that's saying something. We got some shit going on here. And if you vote and Huda stays on the island, now, of course, it's Love Island. So they'll probably have like the bottom 3 are this. And then vote who gets to stay. I would hope that at this point, the Islanders are like, you know what? We have to get this girl the fuck out of the villa. With Huda being so, ooh, I'm a girl's girl. Ooh, she's not a girl's girl. I don't like the way she moves. And then pulling Pepe for chats without giving Hannah a heads up when Hannah's just like 2 seats down from her at the fucking bar in the kitchen, and she's like whispering to Pepe to pull him. She's like whispering to him, like trying to be all sneaky about it, and then just talking to him, and then just finding excuses to touch him and be like, ooh, your skin's so soft, and having a talk with him and asking what he goes for and what's his type. And he's like, well, usually like it's personality is a big thing. And Hannah is like a little bit of a bigger personality than I usually go for. Usually I go for someone a little bit more calm and quiet and reserved. And you would think at that point that Huda, who is a 10 times bigger personality than Hannah, would maybe get the hint, but no, I'm over Huda. I was over Huda this past week, and I've been ready for her to get the fuck out of the villa for over a week. But now, come on, you can't be preaching girl's girl and then just go behind the girl that was comforting you and gassing you up the past week when you were crying. Like, that's a fucking dick move. Also, when the guys are all talking to Andrina, like the beginning of the episode opens, last one left off. Andrina's talking to the guys, TJ's talking to the girls. Andrina asks what their types are, and Jeremiah is like, yeah, like a Latina, that's like my type, that's family oriented. And Ace just laughing because that's not Huda. That's like what I'm saying. He's like, no, I'm dead ass. That's true. And then one thing, like, I will just tell you right now, my vote is going to be Nick's my favorite guy, Sierra's my favorite girl. Like, straight up, I feel like Nick, funny as fuck in the challenge, and Sierra, I feel like she keeps it real with the girls. Like, Alondria's a close second, and so is Taylor. Like, for me, it goes Nick and Sierra, then Alondria and Taylor. I'm going couples wise here. But I feel like Nick and Sierra both, like, yeah, both got paired up and kissed a bunch of people in the challenge. And yeah, there's sometimes you could tell they didn't necessarily love it, but they were still both going for it and having a good time. And I feel like they've addressed things pretty healthily, that they're like, yeah, things are really good with us, but we're both like open to exploring it. That's what we're here for. We're both cool with it. They're not getting defensive. They're not yelling at each other. And then Nick later on in this episode trying to kind of defend Huda a little bit, which I think is misplaced. That's the only thing that maybe dropped Nick some points. But again, I do say on here, we don't want to be hateful towards people. So good for Nick. He has been the vibes guy. He has said it. And so him saying, hey, it's growth that Huda didn't say fuck you when she dumped milk on Jeremiah. I'm getting ahead of myself though. But TJ and Sierra were chatting. The one thing I don't like when the guys do when they're pulling a girl that's coupled up with another guys, then going to the guy, I'll take good care of her, or something like that. That's just a dick move. Like, why? Unnecessary. TJ did that. TJ kind of gives douchebag vibes, but he does have a mesmerizing smile, so I get it. And Andrina's got the accent. That's the main thing that we notice about her, and why all the guys are into her. And she's talking to Jeremiah, she's talking to Nick. Those are the main two that she's kind of keeping her focus on. But there's so much with it. I am blinded by rage at Huda. And I feel like I just want to rant about that for like 10 minutes before I get into recapping the episode. But I will try to be a fucking pro, which I'm not. I'm an amateur. I have 115 subscribers. Come on. But we're gonna go through this. But Iris and TJ chatting the first night, her like kind of fishing for a kiss, saying he has nice lips, and then asking if he kisses people all the time. They just met. He's like, not usually, but I'd kiss you. Then them making out and soul ties first night. Good for him. And Iris kind of calls out. She thinks her and Jeremiah is more of a friendship relationship, which I would agree with. That's like the vibes that I get from them. But one thing, like, Jeremiah, this is the most personality we have seen out of him the entire season. In the last couple episodes, just seeming more happy, more playful, both with the boys and just in the talking heads, the confessionals. And I think that's good to see. Now, do I think he's the best? No, that's why I'm not voting him for my favorite guy. But I do think it's neat to see the little more personality and going for it out of him. But that first night, Hannah tells the other girl she's a little annoyed that Huda didn't talk to her first before pulling Pepe for a chat. And Huda kind of fishing with Andrina for how her chats went. Like, she made a comment when Andrina pulled Jeremiah. I knew she'd pull him. I knew she was her type. Sticking her tongue out. Like, just kind of being immature. Like, Huda gives me the ick. And saying something gives me the ick, gives me the ick. So for me to say something gives me the ick, you know, it's fucking for real. But, one more thing before I get to what happened at night when Iris and Nick are talking. I feel like Andrina, said Iris and Nick, I meant Andrina and Nick. Andrina and Nick were talking, and they're talking about when their birthdays are, because they're the same age. And he says, I don't know, does that mean our signs are compatible? And she's like, I don't fucking know. He's like, me neither. I think Andrina is the only girl that we've seen on here that doesn't know, like, isn't into the star signs. Because, like, when the girls are asking TJ, they're like, someone's like, what's your sign? He's like, I'm a Sagittarius. And all the girls are like, oh! Like, yeah, bleh. But that night, dude, the producers this year and the editors are like, we are going to show as much fucking as possible. because we have Sierra and Nick getting it on that night after they both had good chats with Nick with Andrina and Sierra with TJ. Again, healthy. But the next morning, Sierra, the girls kind of talking to her and them kind of giving her a hard time, playful. And then Nick pulling Ace for a chat and just being like, man, we were kissing a bit, and then I don't know if it's just all pent up stuff. It was the best 25 seconds of my life. I was so fucking horny. He says it was so like that, like him just straight up being like, I had to apologize. Is just it was the best 25 seconds of my life. So funny, so real, so relatable. I thought that was hilarious. But then like they had a very real, like after that joking, kind of mature chat that like, hey, just now that you've had sex and you've been at that level, it brings it to another level with emotions and relationships and things like that. And then both kind of acknowledging that. And I think even after that, it was neat to see that it didn't cause either of them to be extremely like possessive in the challenge or anything like that. They still are there to get to know people, to test things. And I respect that. Good for them. Again, very mature relationship so far. But I have to say, Amaya's nicknames are gonna do it for me. Austin, Boston. Why? I get it rhymes, but I thought it was funny that the next morning, the only kind of possessive thing, but it was playful because TJ had brought Sierra tea. Like he brought a lot of girls' drinks. And then Nick brought up tea for Sierra and saw that one. He's like, what? Hell no. And like took it away. I thought that was funny. I thought like it was playful. It was like acting a little possessive is the vibe I got. Maybe I'm reading it wrong and maybe everyone's like that gave me the ick. But then they get a text, the challenge for the day. What's your beef challenge? An obstacle course that they have to wheelbarrow through, falling buckets of milk. Bob for apples, who have people's names, and it's who they'd kiss if they weren't coupled up with the current Islander. Then they have to do a milking station where the guy milks it, spits the milk, like he milks udders into his mouth, spits the milk into the girl's mouth, who spits it into the bucket, and then they read the question on the bucket, dump it on an Islander's head. Now, there is no way that the milk they dumped on the Islander's head was actually all transferred from spitting mouth to mouth. But they've done some food transfer challenges that are always fucking gross. Milk in Fiji sounds like the grossest shit ever. And I'm like, well, maybe it's just they have something in the water, so it looks like that. But no, these in the confessionals, they were talking about smelling like milk and stinking. That's nasty. That's messed up. No one wants to smell like rotten milk. Like, I feel like you'd have to shower multiple times to get that off. Gross. But just a couple highlights from the game. TJ got kissed a ton. Huda chose Pepe to be the because she was single. She got to choose someone to do it with her. She chose Pepe to do it with. And then she was kind of humping while making out with Pepe at the end. Because it was, you do after you dump the milk on someone, then you go make out in a milk shower. And there were a few things. The people who got milked the most were probably Huda and Jeremiah. Huda said that the more milk she got dumped on her, then the more emotional she got, and that it hurt for people to do that. But like none of them, I didn't feel like any of them were out of pocket. Like one of who's full of bull, things like that. There was one because Jeremiah picked Andrina to kiss and went to like lift her up and put her on a thing, and who's just making a dig like he's not very strong. Unnecessary in my opinion. I did like TJ chose Iris and then they chose Hannah for a spider right there on the ceiling, and that's gonna derail me now. And they chose Hannah for who's been acting too chicken to speak her mind, because Hannah's kind of pissed at Huda for constantly pulling Pepe and not talking to her about it, which is completely fair with everything that Huda has been saying and preaching. I'm not kidding. That spider is going to distract me, so I'm cutting here. Kill that spider. I mean, if PETA's watching, I didn't kill the spider. I gently let it away somewhere. And it totally didn't fall in the room's dark, and I didn't know where it was. We're good. Now I lost my train of thought. This challenge, making out with milk, and just gross. Andrina chose to go with Nick. Nick chose Iris as the one to kiss. Then he put the blindfold on her, because when you're getting wheelbarrowed, you were blindfolded. There's a fun note I didn't mention before. He blindfolded her, then kind of kissed like her stomach and then her neck a little bit. And in that one, when it cut to Sierra, she looked like she wasn't necessarily having a great time with it. Same with when Andrina and Nick were making out afterwards. But I don't know. Like I said, they still had conversations, and they never seemed petty and like they were trying to get back at each other. Like, it didn't seem like that. They were just living their best lives, and I respect that. Okay, guys, as I was waiting for things to export and I actually had the audio uploading, I opened social media and realized I forgot to talk about a very important thing that I had flagged in my notes, but it got buried as I was looking through them, and I am so mad at myself because it was like, wow. During the challenge, TJ chose Iris as his person to go with because he was single. He got to do that. He picked Sierra as the one to kiss, and Iris picked Nick. During that, so TJ and Sierra started kissing. Then Nick got up to kiss Iris during it. They were right next to each other, both on barrels, making out with each other. Then they fucking swapped, and TJ and Iris were kissing, and then Nick and Sierra were kissing and fucking going at it on the ground. And it was, it was steamy. And I can't believe I didn't call that out. And also, just pure comedy. Nick just going all at it at the udders with the milk, and then talking about you got to get the double glizzy gobbler, like whatever the fuck he was saying going. Just, I love Dick. That's why he's, if the fucking app ever works and lets me in to vote, I apologize, I'm yelling now. If the app lets me in to vote, my vote will be Nick, best guy, Sierra, best girl. Awesome moment. Okay, now back to my actual recorded recap on it, and I need to stop, and it needs to hurry and export, so I stop adding more things into this and then having to start over. After the challenge, back at the villa, Huda is talking to Alandria and Taylor, and you can just tell with their body language and the looks on their faces, they're just over Huda's shit. Because Alandria is not even looking at her. She's just looking straight ahead, and Huda's right here, like, talking at her. Alandria's just looking straight ahead. And Huda's like, yeah, I feel bad. I forgot when I picked Pepe that at the end of the challenge that you have to make out on the bed. I forgot that was a thing. Bullshit. Like, you've been watching how many people do this challenge, and you forgot the big thing at the end that everyone's like hooting and hollering about making out on the hay bales with the milk bath. You just happen to forget about that? Are you fucking dumb? The fuck? No. Stupid. Annoyed. And then she's like, yeah, but TJ and Pepe are good kissers, and saying they were both moaning when I kissed them. I don't know if that's the case. I feel like we're just making shit up. And then Alandria is like, well, did you talk to Hannah first about the whole Pepe thing? And Huda is just like, nope. And Alandria is just like, just kind of disappointed, because Huda just says it not like remorseful, or like she didn't even give it a second thought. Like, she doesn't really care. And they're like, I feel like they're just over her shit, because she preaches so much and she would be so mad about all of this. And then Huda being like, well, like, I don't know how it works. I'm new to this. Everyone's coupled up. I don't know how it works, like pulling people for chats. You can't use that as a fucking excuse why you didn't talk to Hannah, who's supposed to be your friend and comforting you. Get the fuck out of here, because you were getting pissed when girls would not talk to you before they had chats with Jeremiah when you were coupled up with him. Let's use some fucking common sense here. You think everyone around you is fucking stupid? No. Fired up. Fucking Huda. Makes me mad. It's just so stupid. And steal her phrase, which I don't want to steal her phrase, but be for fucking real. And I know that's not just her phrase, but she says it a fucking lot in this. But again, Nick kind of defending Huda to Ace because Ace is like, she's out here crying and shit. And then over there, she's pulling Pepe and doing all of this. Yeah. I felt bad for Amaya in this episode because how they edited it, no idea what I just said there, how they edited it with Amaya talking to Iris and Austin talking to Jeremiah, and Amaya being like, yeah, it's just so nice. I feel like we connect well and we click and we can have fun together and talk. And then Austin being like, I'm just not used to a girl being this into me this fast after like 2 days and so locked in. And it's not normal. He said she was being all, it seemed like she was all clingy during the challenge. And just made him kind of nervous and anxious. And Jeremiah being like, well, yeah, you shouldn't feel bad about not liking someone. But then it just cutting back between him saying that and Amaya saying how much she liked him, that was rough to watch. It was kind of painful. And then Huda, now almost a full 24 hours after pulling Pepe for a chat in the speakeasy, pulls Hannah and is like, I had to pull you because I was like, bitch, I feel like an asshole because the first time I pulled him, it didn't even cross my mind. And again, just being like, I'm very new to this pull chat thing. And it's just such a fucking stupid excuse that's trying to be like, well, feel bad for me because I'm new to this. I'm having to explore and everyone's coupled. I'm sorry. It just get the fuck out. Like, I'm fucking over it. It's stupid. I respect Sierra when she's talking to TJ saying like, yeah, Nick and I are really good having conversations, but our conversations are good too. So I still want to have these conversations. And Nick kind of being like the same to Andrina. Like I said, they're not locked into each other. And that's cool. Like, that's what the show is. We're in week 3. We got lots more shit coming. I respect that. They're getting my votes for favorite boy and favorite girl. Then Huda takes TJ to Soul Ties and makes a comment and asks if he's been to Soul Ties before, and he said, I have. And she's like, someone took your Soul Ties virginity and it wasn't me? Her doing the me? The fucking grates on my nerves. Yeah, hate it. And then they just have a chat. And I'm trying to remember. I think they fucking kiss. Well, because he makes a comment about she hurt his lip in the challenge. They do. They kiss in Soul Ties. But then she's like, so are you going to pull me tomorrow or do I pull you? And he's like, I'll pull you. And she's like, really? You're going to pull me? You're going to pull me? And yeah, hate it. And then he's like, yeah, it's really beautiful out here. And she's like, why? Because I'm here? Gross. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Blah, blah, blah. Cheesy, corny. Her excuse is like, I like flirting. I'm new to it. I haven't tried it in so long. Oh my God. Like, no. I'm over it. I hope Sunday is the last time I see Huda on my television screen for Love Island. I wish her the best in her life. Best in her life. Don't want bad things to come to her. I'm not going to at her, say nasty things directly to her. That would be mean. I hope she has a great support system. I hope she has a great therapist. And I wish the best for her and her family and her secret daughter that TJ has no idea about unless he's been watching the show. Again, I don't know what all is going on. But Amaya, I feel like sensed something is kind of off with Austin. And she's like, hey, does me calling babe bother you? And he's like, no, it doesn't bother me. She's like, is anything I do bother you? And just, which she needs to be careful because that like over concern, like, well, do you like me when I do this? Do you like me when I do this? That might push him away further. But he should have been more honest with her. He's just like, I'm just not used to your energy yet, which is kind of true, but kind of also downplaying it based on what he told Jeremiah. I feel like he owes it to her, be honest and be like, hey, I feel like we're going really fast. Like, I really like you. I like your vibe, but you are being like, like right away. And I just need a fucking second. And then Jeremiah and Andrina going to Soul Ties, saying that what he's looking for more is just like a best friend first and somebody he can just laugh with. And they have a good chat, and they had a very intense makeout session. Seemed like things are going good with them. And I don't know, I like them as a couple. I see that, like I said, I see that spark, and I enjoy the more kind of wild and the personality of Jeremiah that we haven't gotten to see. Huda's personality, I like less. and I feel like such a dick saying that, but actually I don't, because it's just true. I haven't looked at any online reactions after this episode, so if I go and all of America and social media is like, oh my God, I love Huda this episode, it's just a whole new her and I love it, I won't change my opinion because I'm not that easily swayed. But this episode, I multiple times said, get the fuck out of here, multiple times. But that's where this episode left off. That is where I'm going to leave you on this mega week 3 recap of Love Island USA season 7. Dude, the show gets me fired up. Like, I get fired up about Nebraska football, and I get fired up about musicals, as weird as it sounds. And I get fired up about Love Island. And when people just do stupid shit, but I love it, and I can't quit it. So hopefully, if any of you are still listening a fucking hour and a half into this, hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, follow, subscribe. Throw in the comments who you voted for. I'm curious to see what other people's favorite guy and favorite girl are. I feel like I've seen a lot of social media love for Nick. I don't see Sierra talked about a ton. It's usually Olandria and a little bit Shelly that's getting that love. And like I said, I like Olandria too. I don't want to see any of those 4 go home, even though I feel like Olandria and Taylor maybe don't have as much of a romantic connection. But she said at the beginning of this, she sees herself liking him more and can see herself being a kind of country wife on a farm. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not reading it correctly. Maybe it's the edit. But we'll see. So let me know what you think. We'll see you next Friday or Saturday for a week 4 recap. We'll see you on Wednesday for the review of A Complete Unknown, if the stars align. Brad and I are already having some hiccups trying to get that recorded. So tune in, follow us at Down Once More Pod on Instagram, and comment on there. Shoot me messages on there. I would love to have more Love Island discussions with people. So hope you love it. This was a special Down on the Island presentation of Down Once More. Don't forget to go down once more. Later. Guys, did we crash the app? Did we break voting? I started recording earlier because Peacock, fun fact, they dropped the episodes. It's live at like 20 minutes before when it's supposed to be. So I started earlier, so I couldn't vote yet. So I recorded, and then I went to go vote, and it's like busted. It's making me register, and then it's giving an error. Every time I try to register, it says there's an error and a crash. If I don't get to vote, I will be livid. But no, my vote was Sierra and Nick. I'm trying to do my part to who I'm voting for. Okay. Go down once more.